This is an MJA Inc. Investigations warning. This MJA podcast is rated E for explicit. Some details of a case and language used on this podcast might be upsetting to some of our listeners. Listeners' discretion is advised. And for those who are still with us, kick back and enjoy the show. Welcome to our MJ podcast, this series, Deep into the Woods, episode 24, part 1, 6 missing persons and 6 Doe cases. There is an epidemic in the United States when it comes to missing persons that's been raging on since the 1970s. Our law enforcement, missing person groups, and advocates are overwhelmed by the high numbers of missing people. They have vanished without a trace. It's mind-boggling that a person can vanish without a trace, leaving no witnesses or evidence behind to point investigators in the right direction. The NCIC reports that over 600,000 people go missing each year. Just think about that for a moment. There are many adults and children who are found quickly alive and well, but several thousands of them remain missing. It's a family's worst nightmare when a loved one goes missing without a trace. What's more disturbing, it's been reported that there are 40,000 dead people in our system that remain unidentified. You would think of the several thousand people that are missing, some of them should match our Jane and John Does. As a nation, we must do a better job to ID these people. It's like the Grim Reaper is on every corner of our nation, claiming victim after victim with no end in sight. MJA has a saying that we have had since day one, and it's at the bottom of our emails, and the quote goes, "We come into this world, we are given a name. It's only moral justice we are buried with a name, even if that means being reburied." Some of these cases won't have a lot of info about the case, but these types of cases need to be profiled and never forgotten. Please join us as we step back into time. Good evening. My name is Mark, and I will be your host for tonight's show. Joining me later will be our co-host, Olivia. We are coming to you from the shed located in Hudson, Florida, on the Gulf of Mexico. Case 1. It was on July 31st, 2005, as when 35-year-old Daryl Keith Miller, a black male, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Spartanburg, South Carolina. Case 2. It was on January 3rd, 1999, as when 25-year-old Paula Louise Merchant, a white female, went missing and vanished without a trace from Forest Acres, South Carolina. Case 3. It was on August 18th, 2011, as when a 20 to 35-year-old male with the race being unknown was found in Sells, Arizona. Case 4. It was on April 27, 2002, as when a 15 to 19-year-old female Hispanic or Native American was discovered in Tempe, Arizona. Case 5. It was on July 28, 1982, as when 34-year-old Dale Webster Strasburger, a white male, disappeared and vanished without a trace from LeClaire, Iowa. Case 6. It was on July 30th, 2011, as when 72-year-old Kaydena Lozelle Wood, a white female, went missing and vanished without a trace from Norwalk, Iowa. Case 7. It was on January 18, 2009, as when a 20 to 35-year-old Hispanic male's body was discovered in Houston, Texas. Case 8. It was on April 9th, 2000, as when the skeletal remains of a 25 to 45-year-old Hispanic and Asian female was discovered in Falls County, Texas. Case 9. It was on July 2nd, 2011, as when 28-year-old Jared Edward Hanna, a white male, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Jerseyville, Illinois. Case 10. It was on April 30th, 2007, as when 37-year-old Lisa Michelle Stubik, a white female, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Plainfield, Illinois. Case 11. It was on February 11, 2016, as when a 40 to 60-year-old white male's body was discovered in San Jose, California. Case 12. It was on February 10, 1997, as when a 35 to 55-year-old white female's body was discovered in Palm Desert, California. Let's take a pause for the cause, and when we return, Olivia will be on the line, and we will profile 6 missing person cases and 6 Doe cases. Be back in a moment. When there is an ending, there was a beginning. Every victim has a picture to paint. Every true crime has its time and place. Please join our MJ podcast, the series Deep into the Woods, Missing Persons, Unsolved Crimes, and the Does. Welcome, everyone. Due to conflicting schedules, Olivia will not be on the show tonight. Please catch her on the flip side on our next upcoming episode. Thank you. Welcome to our MJ podcast, this series, Deep into the Woods, episode 24, part 1, 6 missing persons and 6 Doe cases. Case 1. Welcome to the state of South Carolina. The Doe Network has 111 males and 87 females listed as being missing from the state of South Carolina. Welcome to Spartanburg, South Carolina. Missing male. It was on July 31st, 2005 is when 35-year-old Daryl Keith Miller, a black male, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Spartanburg, South Carolina. On that date in the early morning hours, the 35-year-old Miller was last seen when he went out with friends. Witnesses saw Miller with his friends near Bomar and Crescent Avenues, and later at the Crescent Hill apartment complex. The 35-year-old Miller never returned home. Miller has never been seen or heard from again. Miller's truck was found parked at his home after he disappeared with his wallet and cell phone inside the vehicle. The 35-year-old Miller was reportedly carrying a large sum of cash when he disappeared. Miller had a criminal history and was arrested several times, including a manslaughter conviction when Miller was 19 years old. Miller served 10 years in prison for that conviction, but he turned his life around after his release and was not convicted of any more crimes. Miller started his own yard maintenance business and mowed elderly people's lawns for free. In September 2008, authorities charged David Cortez Carson and Leon Jones with Miller's murder. Carson, who had a lengthy criminal history, was known to have been with Miller the night he disappeared. Carson and Miller had known each other for a long time. Carson said he didn't kill Miller. Carson states he witnessed Leon Jones kill the 35-year-old Miller. Jones denied everything. Miller's body has never been found. Police had blood evidence from the vehicle where Miller was supposedly killed. They believe he was shot to death in a car off of Calder Avenue during a robbery attempt. In March 2000, both Carson and Jones was found guilty of murder and was sentenced to 30 years in prison with each without parole eligibility. Foul play is suspected in Miller's case due to the circumstances involved. If you have any info concerning this case, please call the City of Spartanburg Police, Steve Lamb, at 864-596-2065. Case 2. Welcome to Forest Acres, South Carolina. Missing female. It was on January 3rd, 1999 is when 25-year-old Paula Louise Merchant, a white female, went missing and vanished without a trace from Forest Acres, South Carolina. On that date, at around 6:30 p.m., the 25-year-old Merchant departed from her residence. Paula Merchant was planning to attend a church meeting. The 25-year-old Merchant never arrived at her destination and has not been seen or heard from again. Merchant was driving her tan 1989 Nissan Sentra at the time of her disappearance. On January 4th, 1999, about midnight is when Merchant's vehicle was discovered abandoned and burned. There was no sign of the 25-year-old Merchant at the scene, and this was several hours after she left home. A suspect rises to the top. In the early 1990s, Javier Ray Rivera had attended the University of South Carolina. Rivera was familiar with the site of Merchant's disappearance. In October 2000, in Augusta, Georgia area, Rivera was charged with the murders of 4 women. Law enforcement are uncertain if Javier Ray Rivera is connected to the disappearance of 25-year-old Merchant. There are differences between Merchant and Rivera's other victims, but there are enough similarities between the crimes to allow further investigation. Investigators are also investigating as to whether Rivera was involved in the South Carolina disappearance of Dale Dinwiddie. On September 24, 1992, the 23-year-old Dale Boxley Dinwiddie, a white female, went missing and vanished without a trace from Columbia, South Carolina. Welcome to Serial Killer Avenue. Rivera admitted to murdering the 4 Georgia women, but is a suspect in many more deaths. In 2000, Rivera was charged in one killing where the victim was a police officer. In 2004, Rivera was convicted for the murder of the police officer, and Rivera was sentenced to death plus 7 life terms for related crimes. The disappearance of 25-year-old Paula L. Merchant remains unsolved. If you have any info concerning the missing 25-year-old Merchant, please call the Forest Acres Police Department at 803-782-9444. Case 3. Welcome to the state of Arizona. The Doe Network has 267 John Does and 99 Jane Does listed as being discovered in the state of Arizona. Welcome to Sells, Arizona. John Doe. It was on August 18, 2011 is when a 20 to 35-year-old male with race being unknown was found in Sells, Arizona. The remains were not recognizable and mummified. The estimated date of death was in the early 2011 and the cause of death is unknown. On August 18, 2011, the decomposed human remains of a male was found by law enforcement laying in the Arroyo in the desert near Sales, Arizona on the Tohono O'Dam Reservation. No identification or personal effects or clothing was found. A fingerprint hit matched an individual who had given law enforcement several AKAs, with the last being AKA Jeffrey Castro. If you have any info concerning this John Doe, please call the Tohono O'Dam Nation Police Department at 520-383-3275. That's 520-383-3275. Case 4. Welcome to Tempe, Arizona. Jane Doe. It was on April 27, 2002 is when a 15 to 19-year-old female Hispanic or Native American was discovered in Tempe, Arizona. The estimated date of death was 24 hours before being discovered. The 15 to 19-year-old state of remains were a recognizable face. The Jane Doe was hitchhiking near 32nd and Greenway Road in Phoenix, Arizona when she was picked up by a male driver. The driver took Jane Doe to Tempe, Arizona to meet a guy where Jane Doe bought cocaine. The Jane Doe snorted the cocaine and began to have seizures. The driver dumped Jane Doe off behind a strip mall and told the drug dealer to call 911 from a nearby gas station, and then he drove away. A 911 call was placed from the Circle K, but the call had a bad connection and he couldn't understand the person that made the call. On April 27, 2002 at 5:40 a.m., Jane Doe's body was discovered by a strip mall employee. The cause of death for the 15 to 19-year-old female was a cocaine overdose. The Jane Doe's death was not ruled as a homicide or accident due to the circumstances described by the driver of the vehicle. If you have any info concerning this case that might help ID this Jane Doe, please call the Maricopa County Medical Examiner, Kristen Eggers, at 602-506-3322. Case 5. Welcome to the state of Iowa. The Doe Network has 50 males and 32 females listed as being missing from the state of Iowa. Welcome to LeClaire, Iowa. Missing male. It was on July 28, 1982 is when 34-year-old Dale Webster Strasburger, a white male, disappeared and vanished without a trace from LeClaire, Iowa. It was on that date at 12:15 a.m. the 34-year-old Strasburger was last seen on his way home from work. Dale Webster Strasburger never arrived home, and he has never been heard from or seen again. On August 6, 1982, the 34-year-old Strasburger was reported missing to police. On Interstate 80 in the eastbound lane on the LeClaire Bridge over the Mississippi River is where Strasburger's 1976 Oldsmobile was found abandoned 29 minutes after Strasburger left work. This location is not on the 34-year-old Strasburger's route home. Extensive searches of the river and the area around it turned up no sign of the 34-year-old Strasburger. 3 years after Strasburger's vanished, a witness in a court proceeding in another state claimed to know about a homicide connected to Strasburger's case. Authorities described the information as extremely credible and stated the witness knew information about Strasburger's disappearance that had never been publicly released. The police were never able to verify the witness account. In the mid-2000s, authorities stated they were close to issuing indictments in the case, but nothing happened. Investigators believe the 34-year-old Strasburger was a victim of a homicide. If you have any info concerning the disappearance and possible murder, please call the LeClaire Police Department at 563-289-6034. Case 6. Welcome to Norwalk, Iowa. Missing female. It was on July 30th, 2011, as when 72-year-old Kadena Roselle Wood, a white female, went missing and vanished without a trace from Norwalk, Iowa. The 72-year-old Kadena Wood lived with her 79-year-old husband, Bill Wood, in rural Norwalk, Iowa. On the night of July 30th, 2011, their house was destroyed by fire. The blaze apparently started on the front porch, and by the time firefighters arrived at the house, it was engulfed in flames. On July 31st, 2011, in the morning hours, the body of 79-year-old Bill Wood was found in the ashes. But the cause of death for the 79-year-old Bill Wood being that he was shot to death. The 72-year-old Kadena Wood was missing. Also missing was the couple's 2009 red Chevrolet Silverado truck. On July 31st, 2011, the couple's truck was found abandoned at an apartment complex in Kansas City, Missouri. Authorities determined the truck actually had been at the apartment complex since the Woods' house had caught fire. Witnesses saw an unidentified man park the truck walking away from the vehicle. A composite sketch was done from the witness accounts. This male figure is considered a high value of a person of interest in Bill Wood's murder and Kadena Wood's disappearance. The man is described as white, 6'2" to 6'6" feet tall, with a crew cut, gray or white hair, with his age being between 40 to 60 years old. On July 30th, 2011, in the morning hours, 72-year-old Kadena and 79-year-old Bill Wood were at an auction in Stuart, Iowa. It's possible someone saw the Woods couple and decided to rob them. At these auctions, they bought expensive antiques. The elderly couple kept expensive antiques at their home. Foul play is suspected in the disappearance of 72-year-old Kadena Wood due to the circumstances involved. If you have any info concerning the murder of 79-year-old Bill Wood or the disappearance of 72-year-old Kadena Wood, please call the Warren County Sheriff's Office, Detective Sergeant Mike Morrison at 515-961-1122. Let's take a pause for the cause, and when we return, I will profile more missing person cases and more Doe cases. Be back in a moment. Welcome back to our MJA podcast, the series, Deep into the Woods, episode 24, part 1, 6 missing persons and 6 Doe cases. Case 7. Welcome to the state of Texas. The Doe Network has 298 John Does and 92 Jane Does listed as being discovered in the state of Texas. Welcome to Houston, Texas. John Doe. It was on January 18, 2009 is when a 20 to 35-year-old Hispanic male's body was discovered in Houston, Texas. John Doe died on the same day as being discovered, with the state of remains being very recognizable. On January 18, 2009, in the early morning hours, John Doe was found laying in the road of a subdivision by a truck driver in Houston, Texas. The John Doe's cause of death was homicide by multiple stab wounds. John Doe was last seen alive on the night of his death at the El Casanova Bar in Houston, Texas. On January 20, 2009, Houston police arrested 18-year-old Jose Martinez and charged him with John Doe's murder. When police questioned the 18-year-old Martinez, he stated that he met John Doe at the El Casanova Bar. When police showed John Doe's photos in several bars, but no one knew his name or they couldn't remember. They also couldn't place the 18-year-old Martinez with the John Doe. For whatever reason, investigators have stated they believe John Doe met Martinez in the Pasadena, Texas area, since that is where the 18-year-old Martinez lives. If you have any info concerning the murder or the ID of John Doe, please call the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences ID Unit at 832-927-5655 5000. Case 8. Welcome to Falls County, Texas. Jane Doe. It was on April 9th, 2000 is when the skeletal remains of a 25 to 45-year-old Hispanic and Asian female was discovered in Falls County, Texas. It was on that date that fishermen found a skull at the edge of the pond on County Road 451, which was 5 miles from Interstate 35 in Falls County, just south of Waco, Texas. Additional remains were discovered with clothing and other personal items. The estimated date of death was in the mid-1980s to possibility the early 1990s. Even though the cause of death is unknown, foul play is suspected in the Jane Doe's death. A DNA profile has been developed from Jane Doe's bones that were recovered. However, no matches have been made to any known missing person case. It is possible this 25 to 45-year-old Jane Doe was never officially reported missing. Among the items found with Jane Doe was some crafted jewelry, and according to research done by investigators, it has the depiction of a dragon and phoenix myth, which is common in the Asian culture. If you have any info concerning this Jane Doe, please call the Southwestern Institute of Forensic Science Deputy Chief Death Investigator Casey Gold at 214-920-5900. Case 9. Welcome to the state of Illinois. The Doe Network has 98 males and 109 females listed as being missing from the state of Illinois. Welcome to Jerseyville, Illinois. Missing male. It was on July 2nd, 2011 is when 28-year-old Jared Edward Hannah, a white male, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Jerseyville, Illinois. It was on that date in the morning that the 28-year-old Hannah was last seen by his sister when Hannah left the house in Jerseyville, Illinois. A convenience store surveillance camera captured Jared Hannah buying a soda at 11:45 a.m. and walking out the door. The 28-year-old Hannah's cell phone pinged from a cell tower around 12:15 p.m. in East Alton and then near Centralia around 9:30 p.m. that night. After that, the phone was either turned off or died. On July 4th, 2011, the truck belonging to the 28-year-old Hannah was found abandoned and out of gas in the rural area of Centralia, more than 70 miles from his home. On July 3rd, 2011, 2 witnesses reported possibly seeing Jared Hannah. A passing motorist saw a man walking down the road around midnight in the area where Hannah's truck was later found. In October 2011, a black shoulder bag was found under a deer stand about 1.5 miles away from where Hannah's truck was found. Inside the bag was numerous items, including car parts, a video camera, tools, a change of clothes, shoes, and the 28-year-old Hannah's wallet and a cell phone. It is believed that Jared Hannah was in the area to go fishing the day he disappeared, since his fishing pole and tackle box were in the back of the truck when it was found. The 28-year-old Jared Hannah has had no contact with family or friends since his disappearance. The disappearance of Jared Hanna remains unsolved. If you have any info concerning the disappearance of the 28-year-old Hanna, please call the Clinton County Sheriff's Office at 618-594-4555. Case 10. Welcome to Plainfield, Illinois. Missing female. It was on April 30th, 2007 is when 37-year-old Lisa Michelle Stubik, a white female, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Plainfield, Illinois. On May 1st, 2007, a 37-year-old Lisa Stubik was reported missing by her neighbor. On April 30th, 2007, at around 6 p.m., while the estranged husband was working in the backyard, the 37-year-old Lisa Stubik left the home. When the estranged husband came back into the home, the 37-year-old Stubik was nowhere to be found. The estranged husband of the 37-year-old Stubik stated to police he believed that Lisa Stubik had either voluntarily or was forcibly taken. The estranged husband had sent their 2 children to the store to buy candy just before the 37-year-old Lisa Stubik's disappearance. When the children returned from the store, their mother, Lisa Stubik, was gone. On the day that the 37-year-old Stubik disappeared, Lisa Stubik had petitioned the court to have the estranged husband evicted from their home while their divorce was pending. Lisa Stubik's car remained parked at her residence. The 37-year-old Stubik's purse and cell phone were both missing. There has been no activity on Lisa Stubik's credit cards or phone since the time of her disappearance. Police suspect foul play in the disappearance of 37-year-old Lisa Stubik. The estranged husband remains a person of interest in the disappearance of 37-year-old Lisa Stubik. If you have any info concerning the disappearance of 37-year-old Lisa Stubik, please call the Plainfield Police Department at 815-439-7653. Case 11. Welcome to the state of California. The Doe Network has 581 John Does and 239 Jane Does listed as being discovered in the state of California. Welcome to San Jose, California. John Doe. It was on February 11, 2016 when a 40 to 60-year-old white male's body was discovered in San Jose, California. Even though the state of remains were not recognizable and were near complete or complete skeleton, the date of death was in the early 2016. San Jose police received a call from a female saying she saw a skull and bones behind the fence in an area bordering Moore Park Avenue and Richmond Avenue in San Jose, California. In this area, Moore Park Avenue borders Highway 280, and this is the access road to the northbound Highway 280. The John Doe's remains were found behind a chain-link fence that borders northbound Highway 280 that runs parallel to Moore Park Avenue. If you have any info concerning the ID of John Doe, please call the Santa Clara County Medical Examiner, Coroner Laura Bailey, Medical Examiner, Coroner Investigator at 408-793 1900. Case 12. Welcome to Palm Desert, California. Jane Doe. It was on February 10, 1997, as when a 35 to 55-year-old white female's body was discovered in Palm Desert, California. Jane Doe died one day before being discovered, and the state of her remains, she had a recognizable face. The cause of death is unknown, but Jane Doe had superficial contusions on her legs and on her head. This Jane Doe was found by a construction crew in the hills behind the Desert Crossing Shopping Center. Authorities discovered a woman's day camp up the hillside from Jane Doe's body. The 35 to 55-year-old Jane Doe had expensive dental work and was wearing a wedding ring and pricey makeup on her face. Jane Doe may have been living in the area for a few days from the personal items found at the day camp. If you have any info concerning the idea of this Jane Doe, who might be 35 to 55 years old, please call the Riverside County Sheriff's Office, Coroner Bureau, Coroner Sergeant Nancy Rizzi at 951-443-2300. I would like to thank our viewers and listeners for tuning in, for you all have been so kind. I have a quote for you all. A happy life consists in tranquility of the mind. Marcus Cicero. Always remember, folks, that if you ever get bored with nothing to do, well, take a walk deep into the woods. You might be surprised at what you might find. That's the end of our MJ podcast, this series, Deep into the Woods, episode 24, part 1, 6 missing persons and 6 Doe cases. We say to all of you, good night from the shed located in Hudson, Florida on the Gulf of Mexico.